Being born a raccoon isn't the start of a cute woodland fairy tale. It's more like being tossed into the first act of a garbage-themed survival movie, where you're the star, the comic relief, and the victim all rolled into one. Your life begins in what can only be described as the raccoon equivalent of a fixer-upper. If you're lucky, it's a hollowed-out tree that smells like wet leaves and disappointment. If you're unlucky, it's the crawl space under someone's porch, complete with cobwebs, weird smells, and occasional skittering noises that even your mom pretends not to hear. Your first few weeks are spent squished between your siblings, fighting for warmth, food, and the one semi-dry corner of your hideout. Your siblings, by the way, are awful. They're loud, grabby, and possess an uncanny ability to hog the prime nursing spots. You don't even have your eyes open yet, and you're already embroiled in a battle for survival with the jerks you're supposed to call family. Every squeak is either a complaint, a warning, or an accusation, and there's no referee to sort it out. Mom? She's too busy trying to nap after dealing with all of you, which is her way of saying, "Figure it out, kids." Mom's approach to parenting is unique. She's protective, sure, but only to a point. If a predator shows up, she'll fight to the death, or she'll bolt and leave you to fend for yourself. It's really a coin toss, and you'll never know which side it'll land on until it's too late. When she's not in fight or flight mode, she's off on mysterious errands, returning hours later with food that smells weird and tastes worse. You're grateful because it's food, but you also wonder if raccoons are supposed to eat leftover spaghetti or whatever mystery substance she dug up from a ditch. The noises outside your den are your first introduction to the real world, and they're not encouraging. There's the occasional rustle of leaves, the distant hum of cars, and every now and then, a terrifying howl or screech that makes you reconsider your whole existence. Whatever's out there sounds big, fast, and hungry. You're small, slow, and let's face it, you look like a furry snack wrapped in a striped tail. The odds are not in your favor. Before we continue with the video and my further explanation about the problems with the raccoon, I want to ask for your help. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subs within a month, so I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and help me out. Okay, let's continue. When you're finally old enough to peek outside, you realize the world isn't a magical forest. It's a chaotic mess of towering trees, random debris, and, if you're near humans, an alarming number of smelly bins. The first thing you notice is that the bins smell amazing, like life-changing amazing. You don't know what's in them, but you know you want it. Unfortunately, you're too small to do anything about it, so you're stuck watching your mom rummage through garbage while you take mental notes. Step 1. Find the bin. Step 2. Knock it over. Step 3. Feast. Easy, right? Not so much. Your first steps outside the den are clumsy, embarrassing, and, frankly, dangerous. You trip over sticks, bump into trees, and get your tiny paws stuck in places they don't belong. Your siblings naturally find this hilarious, but they're just as bad. Watching a group of baby raccoons stumble around is like watching a blooper reel of nature's most awkward moments. The only thing keeping you alive is your mom's occasional grunt to hurry up and stop being dumb. And then there's the weather. It's either too cold, too wet, or too windy. There's no in between. Rain turns everything into a muddy mess. Wind makes every leaf look like a predator, and cold just makes you question why raccoons weren't born with built-in heaters. The den, as shabby as it is, starts to feel like a 5-star resort compared to the chaos outside. Your mom eventually decides it's time for you to start learning life skills, which is code for good luck, don't die. She drags you to a nearby trash pile and demonstrates the fine art of dumpster diving. You watch her with wide eyes, taking mental notes on how she flips lids, sorts through refuse, and dodges the occasional rat. When it's your turn, it's a disaster. You can't even lift the lid, let alone sift through the treasures inside. Your siblings aren't any better, which turns the whole thing into a sad comedy of errors. Mom watches from the sidelines, unimpressed. The trash pile, by the way, is a battleground. It's not just you and your siblings vying for scraps. There are other raccoons, rats, and even the occasional stray cat. Everyone's out for themselves and no one plays fair. You learn quickly that if you're not fast, sneaky, or just plain aggressive, you're going to bed hungry. And going to bed hungry means enduring your siblings' smug chewing noises while you lie there plotting your revenge. The first time you encounter a human is traumatic. They're loud, unpredictable, and wield weapons like brooms, hoses, and occasionally screaming toddlers. Your mom tells you to stay away from them, which seems like solid advice until you realize humans are also the source of the best garbage. It's a moral dilemma. Risk getting chased by a guy in pajamas or miss out on leftover pizza crusts. Spoiler, you'll always risk it. By the time you're a few weeks old, you've already learned more about survival than most creatures learn in a lifetime. You've figured out how to dodge predators, scavenge food, and navigate the weird, terrifying world outside your den. But you're still small, clumsy, and painfully inexperienced. Life as a baby raccoon is less about thriving and more about not dying. And honestly, you're not doing great. Growing up as a raccoon is like entering the world's messiest, most chaotic internship. You're not ready for the job, you don't know what you're doing, and everything around you is trying to kill you, or at least ruin your day. Your mom decides you're old enough to fend for yourself, which is laughable because you still trip over your own paws half the time. But out you go, into the great wide world of garbage and danger. The first thing you realize is that scavenging is way harder than it looks. Remember how mom made flipping trash lids look so easy? Yeah, it's not. Those lids are heavy, they're stuck, or worse, they're designed by humans specifically to keep raccoons like you out. Anti-raccoon trash bins. The audacity. You spend what feels like hours clawing, yanking, and biting at the lid, only to have it slam shut just as you're about to succeed. It's humiliating, and you swear you can hear the other raccoons laughing at you from the shadows. When you do finally get a bin open, it's not the treasure trove you imagined. Half the time, it's just empty containers, coffee grounds, or something mysterious that smells terrible even by raccoon standards. And when you do find something good, like a half-eaten taco or a greasy slice of pizza, that's when the real trouble starts. You're never alone at the garbage pile. Other raccoons are lurking, waiting for their chance to swoop in and steal your hard-earned snack. You've never known betrayal until you've seen a cousin swipe your chicken nugget and run off into the night. Then there's the competition from other species. Stray cats are territorial, rats are relentless, and opossums. Don't even get me started. They play dead when you approach, which is creepy enough, but then they spring back to life when you least expect it, hissing like they're possessed. You quickly learn that sharing is not an option. It's every raccoon for themselves, and if you want to eat, you've got to be fast, sneaky, and occasionally willing to throw a punch. As if scavenging wasn't hard enough, there's also the ever-present threat of predators. Owls are the worst. They swoop down out of nowhere, silent as ghosts, and you barely have time to dive under a bush before they're on you. Coyotes are sneakier. They'll stalk you for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And let's not forget humans. Sure, they don't eat you, but they've got brooms, hoses, and some sort of primal rage about their garbage being scattered. You'll never know fear until you see a human in slippers running towards you with a flashlight, yelling words you don't understand, but definitely don't like. Navigating human neighborhoods is a skill you have to pick up fast. Cars are death machines, trash days are unpredictable, and dogs are everywhere. Big dogs, little dogs, yappy dogs, they all have one thing in common. They hate you. They'll bark, chase, and slam into fences trying to get at you. And for what? You're just trying to enjoy a banana peel in peace. It's unnecessary drama, but it's also unavoidable. Occasionally, you'll find yourself in a wildlife-friendly area, which sounds nice but is actually a trap. These places are filled with people who put out bird feeders and compost piles, thinking they're helping nature. What they're really doing is creating a buffet for raccoons. At first, it seems like a dream come true. Free food. But then you realize the humans are watching. They set up cameras to catch you in the act, and suddenly your clumsy attempt to climb a bird feeder is all over the internet. Now you're not just hungry, you're also a meme. Speaking of climbing, it's supposed to be a raccoon's superpower, but it's not as easy as it looks. Trees are fine, but fences? Slippery. Drain pipes? Questionable. The number of times you've fallen off something you were sure you could scale is embarrassing. And let's not forget the wires. Humans string them everywhere, and you're expected to tightrope walk across them like some kind of circus performer. One wrong step and you're dangling awkwardly, praying no one is filming. Of course, the worst part of being a teenage raccoon is the sheer lack of respect. Humans think you're a nuisance. Other animals see you as competition, and even your fellow raccoons treat you like you're beneath them. You spend your nights dodging insults, attacks, and literal garbage, all while trying to prove you're a capable, self-sufficient adult. Spoiler, you're not. The only silver lining is your growing knack for finding the good trash. After enough trial and error, you start to develop a sixth sense for which bins hold the best leftovers. Fast food places are a goldmine, especially after closing time. But just as you start to feel like you're getting the hang of things, disaster strikes. A locked dumpster, a dog patrol, a human who remembers to take the trash out only seconds before the garbage truck arrives. It's a cruel reminder that no matter how hard you try, life as a raccoon is never easy. Becoming an adult raccoon is not the leveling up experience you might think it is. Sure, you've survived your childhood and awkward teenage years, but adulthood doesn't come with perks. There's no better food, no safer environment, and definitely no respect. Instead, life just becomes a never-ending grind of trash, predators, and annoying humans. Let's start with the big myth. Adulthood means freedom. Spoiler, it doesn't. Yes, you're on your own now, but that mostly means there's no one to help you when things go wrong. Mom's not around to swoop in if a dog starts chasing you, and your siblings are too busy wrecking someone else's garbage pile to care if you fall off a fence. You're out there fending for yourself, and let's just say, it's not going great. Garbage wars are a regular occurrence. You'd think other raccoons would respect your claim to a perfectly good trash can, but no. Every time you find something worth eating, there's another raccoon waiting to fight you for it. And raccoon fights are not elegant. It's all hissing, flailing, and biting, usually ending with both of you falling off whatever you were standing on. Even if you win, you're left with a bruised ego and a soggy French fry. Was it worth it? Probably not. The food situation is worse than ever. You'd think with all your experience, you'd have figured out how to find a steady supply of snacks. But no. Trash cans are still locked, dumpsters are still guarded, and humans are getting smarter about keeping you out. Some even install motion sensor lights to scare you away, which is just rude. Nothing says unwelcome like a floodlight in your face while you're halfway through a bag of chips. Speaking of humans, they're the worst. They either think you're adorable or a menace, and there's no in between. If they think you're cute, they'll try to feed you bread or take your picture, which is humiliating. If they think you're a pest, they'll chase you with brooms, set traps, or yell things that you're pretty sure are insults. And let's not even talk about the humans who call animal control. Getting trapped and relocated is like being exiled, except you're dropped in the middle of nowhere with no idea where the good garbage is. Then there's the whole living in a human world thing. Cars are everywhere, and they're terrifying. You never know if a car will stop for you or just honk while barreling through. Crossing the street feels like playing the most stressful game of tag ever, where the stakes are your life. And don't even think about relaxing in someone's yard. They'll either set their dog on you or spray you with a hose like you're some kind of garden pest. Even your so-called natural habitat isn't safe. Forests are shrinking, and what's left is full of predators. Coyotes and owls are still a threat, but now you've also got hawks, foxes, and even the occasional bear to worry about. You'd think they'd be busy hunting something more substantial, but no, they're perfectly happy to chase you down for a snack. Your striped tail might be cute, but it's also a giant eat-me sign for every predator in the area. If all that wasn't bad enough, the weather is out to get you too. Rain turns everything into a slippery mess. Snow makes finding food impossible, and summer heat turns dumpsters into steaming death traps. No matter the season, you're either too wet, too cold, or too hot. There's no such thing as a comfortable day when you're a raccoon. And let's talk about the joys of raccoon society. Living near other raccoons is like being stuck in a never-ending family reunion where no one gets along. Everyone's competing for the best trash, the safest hiding spots, and the occasional leftover pizza. If you're not the biggest or the meanest raccoon around, good luck. The others will shove you aside, steal your food, and generally make your life miserable. Even when you find a good spot to rest, it's never peaceful. If you're in a tree, there's always the risk of falling. If you're under a porch, there's a chance a human will discover you and freak out. And if you're in a dumpster, well, let's just say being trapped when the lid slams shut is not a fun time. You'd think after all these years you'd find somewhere safe and quiet. But no. The world is loud, chaotic, and full of surprises you don't want. As you get older, everything gets harder. Your fur starts looking a little rough, your tail loses some fluff, and you're not as fast as you used to be. Younger raccoons start stealing your spots, and your once impressive climbing skills turn into embarrassing scrambles. Even the garbage starts to taste worse, though that might just be your declining standards. By the time you hit your twilight years, you've seen it all. Angry humans, close calls with predators, and more garbage than you ever wanted. You fought for food, dodged traffic, and endured the worst nature has to offer. And what's your reward? A slow decline into obscurity, where your biggest accomplishment is not becoming roadkill. Life as an adult raccoon isn't about thriving, it's about scraping by, one dumpster dive at a time. In the end, being a raccoon is a life of constant hustle, endless danger, and very little appreciation. Humans might find you funny or cute, but they'll never understand the sheer chaos of your existence. From birth to your final scavenge, it's all a mix of stress, hunger, and bad luck. But hey, at least you've got the occasional French fry to make it all worth it.